Hi, I'm Ben Quiggle, editor of Woodall's Campground Magazine, and this is another edition of WCM Supplier Showcase. And with me today is Rich Baum, one of the founders of Rigero. You pronounce it, Rich.
It's Rigero.
Rigero, there
And
we go. And
yep,
the
Rigero.
inventor of the BioHealth Pod System, which is a really neat pod system that helps manages and restores ponds. And do you guys do lakes too, or is it mainly just ponds?
We actually do ponds and lakes, lake fronts,
Okay.
marinas. So we're in ponds and lakes.
All right, and we were talking beforehand. You guys were established in 2016, and you're
Right.
in over 30 states, and even have an installation in France. Is that thanks to the glamping show here in the U.S. or the glamping show over in Europe?
No, you nailed it. We attended the glamping show in 2024, and it was a wonderful show. And we met the owner of Hatopia, which is a big player in
Yeah.
the glamping industry, and they put us into one of their campgrounds in the middle of France. And I was
So,
just there 2 weeks ago visiting while I was there for a wedding that happened in my family, and did a site visit. It was wonderful.
who got to go over and do the installation?
Well, that's a great question because what's really cool about our system is that a lot of campgrounds can just install them themselves. It's a
Okay.
DIY program, but often with bigger installations, we do travel and we do offer installation. So it's a DIY system, which is very unique in this industry.
So I know you do parks. I see you at a lot of conferences in the industry. You also do private ponds for private homeowners, lakefront owners. You do HOAs, lakes associations, golf courses, government, city and county parks. So you're in a lot of different sectors, industries, different things like that. One of the key industries, though, is campgrounds. I guess how has business been going for the campground industry?
Well, the campground industry has been great. And when we got started, it wasn't even on our radar.
Yeah.
There's lots of ponds and lakes everywhere, and they're all struggling. And what happened was back in 2000, I want to say 21, we were doing a installation for Milwaukee County at the Brown Deer Golf Course, and a campground owner named Matt Pargman from Indian Trails Campground called us and said, "Hey, you got to get over here. I heard about you guys. We have a pond and a lake, and we'd like some help." And we did it, and it went really well. And he said, "You got to get involved, and you need to go to Aardvark." And we're like, "What's an Aardvark?" He said, "No, Arvik, which is now Ojai." And so we did. We thought, well, if this campground went this well, let's really dig into the industry. And ever since then, we've been very involved. We were down in Carolina, I think it was 21 or 22, and we've been really grateful for the campground industry. We love the people, and there's just a high need because when you have a water feature at a campground, it's very much part of the camping experience. It's a very central thing for the campers'
Yeah.
enjoyment while they're there, and they're there to have fun, but they're also very hard to take care of. So they see the value in what our system does.
Yeah. And I think a lot of park owners have experience managing their own ponds and lakes. But it takes a lot of work. I think you mentioned that before. It takes a lot of work. So your system kind of helps alleviate that workload, I guess, since they probably have other things to focus on too.
Yeah, one thing we learned in the campground industry, especially, whether it's a family owned or a corporate campground, there is just endless work to be done. You know, and campground owners and managers, they're some of the hardest working people, and that's why we love them. We really enjoy working with folks at the camp in the industry. But yeah,
Yeah.
they're super busy. And so we've done everything we can to design our system to make it simple to use. But the
Okay.
other great part is that so many campground owners have hands-on experience managing a pond or a lake or multiple water features. So they've been through the chemicals, they've been through the aeration, and they've had the failures. And when they see what our system does, and they understand it because of all of their experience. Other industries, HOAs, they don't understand what campground, not all campground owners, because not everyone has the same areas of focus, but a lot of campground owners really understand how difficult it is to take care of a pond or a lake. They understand how much time it takes, and when they see what our system does, they get it, and they say this is what we need.
Yeah, and I think probably one of the biggest differences between like an HOA, for instance, and like a campground too is just the usage of it too. I know there's a lot of HOAs that just kind of have them out there for decoration, so they're not really swimming or using them for recreation. Whereas campgrounds are definitely mostly trying to use them for recreation, so they want to make sure the environment is nice and clean for the campers. So
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. And here's the thing that's really key about what we do. You're right. The water features are very often just a big part of the business model for a camper. It's the attraction. If you
yeah,
have a pond that's full of muck and algae and weeds, it becomes a negative for the campground. You want your kids to swim and enjoy the inflatables and fish and kayak, all the fun things you think about when camping. But but in every pond and lake, there's a similar problem that builds up over the years. And it's the muck that just builds up on the bottom. It just goes up and up and up. And what happens is the lake or pond gets more and more shallow. So
yeah,
here's the surface, the muck builds up, you lose volume, you lose depth, and and those nutrients are really the core problem to almost everything else, because that's what drives the algae. That's what drives the weed growth.
yeah,
So just like this picture that we have up, your pond starts to be filled with algae and weeds. Well, who's going to want to enjoy that campground experience if it looks like that?
yeah.
And
Well,
it's not uncommon. This happens everywhere. And so we designed a technology to address specifically the reason the algae occurs, and that really addresses the muck that's on the bottom that's been building up for years. And by managing nutrients and reducing them, not just the muck, making the muck go down, but also reducing phosphorus loads in the water column and nitrate loads in the water column, we're able to reduce the amount of weeds and algae that occur. So we're a root cause solution, a real solution. So that is what we do. And those campground owners that have been through they've tried everything. They've tried the chemicals. Chemicals kill the weeds. They go to the bottom. They become more muck. Um, we call that the vicious cycle. The weeds start to go, the algae, you treat it, the muck, it goes down to the bottom, causes more muck, and then they come back even quicker. Then you add more chemicals, and then the weeds come again, the algae comes again, and you get to a point where you're like, well, what are we going to do?
yeah,
We then you try aeration, and you try, um, you might try consider a dredging project. Okay. Well, dredging is, you take an acre pond, you could easily spend $60,000 on dredging, easily. Sometimes less, sometimes more. That's a big bit of money, and you really can't even get rid of all the muck anymore. And the permitting is difficult. So our
yeah,
system provides an alternative that will not only manage the nutrients, but will also, restore the pond, reduce the muck, reduce the nutrients in the water column, but it will actually manage it moving forward with very little time involved once you get the initial setup. And even the initial setup is pretty easy. And then once it's set up, it's it's great for saving time while managing the real core issue that your pond and lake faces.
So I guess I've seen I've seen your system at different conferences and things. It's always neat to look at the different parts and applications. Some of you have there up on the screen. I guess once you add this stuff to a pond, how quickly does something like this work? Like is there anything else to do to it, or you just wait for
Yeah,
things to happen?
So this is what happens. You put the system in your pond, and actually it looks. This is what the system that you get. You see the biohealth pod, and then
Yep.
there's these nanopods which are laying in the grass in front, and a pump, and you put it in the water, and it starts. And what our patent is, and we have this patent in the United States and in Canada, Mexico, and in all through Europe. It's very unique. And what the unique thing that we do is we grow, host, and distribute beneficial bacteria that consume and digest nutrients. So it's entirely natural, no chemicals. And those little microbes go into the muck and start eating muck and reducing it. But it doesn't happen in a day. Okay, it
Yeah.
takes time. And so we might get rid of 3 inches of muck in a year. We might get rid of six. And it'll vary throughout the body of water that we're treating. You might get rid of three over here, six over there. But every inch of muck you reduce is another inch of depth that you gain. And as you gain depth, you know the water temperature tends to be cooler. You have more water volume, so that the nutrients like the phosphorus that drive algae that are in there, the concentrations, lower because less water, less volume means more concentration. So as we get depth back, it becomes easier to manage the nutrients in the water column, and that's really key. So, and that can take several years. In 2 or 3 years, you might have a foot removed. But the neat thing is that while you're improving it, you can see the difference even within a season. Sometimes quicker, but we always like to temper expectations because every pond is different and there's
Yeah.
different environmental factors. So it's not a short term solution like where you have you throw your chemical in and you get the algae goes away, but it's a real solution because when you use chemicals, that it just comes back sometimes within a week in the case of algae or duckweed. But with our system, we're improving your pond over a period of time, and then once we get rid of all the muck, as much muck as we can, and I'm sorry about that noise, they're doing some
Yeah.
construction
That's
next to my office, um, which is perfect for this type of interview that we're doing. But anyway, we're we're reducing that muck and we're managing the nutrients in the water column, and it just keeps getting progressively better over the years. But there's always bumps in the road because of environmental factors. And I
okay.
can
Yeah.
show you what it looks like in the water. That's what a biohealth pod looks like underwater. It's
Okay.
actually buoyant. It's chained to the anchor bag and it floats above. And then there's just like an aeration system. There's a pump on the side, and you can see it to the left there, right under system diagram. That's a pump under a faux rock. And then
Hmm.
there's an air hose that goes right to the unit and it bubbles away underwater. And inside that biohealth pod, there's a nest, and we call it the grow nest, and it's made out of this special nano material. And there's a bio cartridge that goes into the top, and that's the bio
Okay.
cartridge right there on the
Okay.
bottom left. There's three of them that come with the system, and then you just drop that bio cartridge in there, and then we start growing billions of beneficial bacteria and microbes. And this is the secret sauce, is it? Because you can buy bacteria, okay? And we're at 13 minutes. But the key is that we grow it right in there. So we're not only growing it in mass quantity, we're growing $1,000 a day worth of bacteria,
Yep.
but we're also growing what's successful. It's survival of the fittest in a natural environment, and that's what makes our system work where other things just don't.
And,
And I can
and
show
then,
you some campgrounds, Ben,
yeah,
that we've done.
that's what I was thinking. It would be neat to see. Okay. So
Yeah, so
you've done them all over the country, it looks like. So
yeah, thanks to the campground industry, we're in Washington, we're in California, we're on the East Coast, we're everywhere in between. We're in over 30 states. The first one, and I mentioned Indian Trails, they had a ton of algae. We were at this Brown Deer golf course for Wisconsin Parks. He called us over, we put it in, and he's just been a huge advocate for us. We're so grateful for the fact that they called us and said, get into the industry. We did. We listened to them. We got involved. We met people. We go to many shows. And it was a wonderful success story. We have a video on our website, on our blog page. I'll send you
yeah.
some links. Here's another one. We did a KOA in Northern California. They had
Wow.
tons of algae for years. This is Hack Creek, Bernie Falls, Hack Creek, KOA in Northern California. They had algae, massive algae, all through the hot season. It gets hot there in the summer. And the first season that we put it in, they didn't have algae anymore. I mean, they had reduced algae. So that's what it
Okay.
looked like before. There's the aerial, and then after.
Yeah.
And they've been wonderful. Whispering Pines. We met him at our first um, Arvik show, which is now Ojai, and we
Yeah.
met Keith Watts, and he put a video out and told the story of what our system did to reduce the algae in his pond. So we've made these great relationships. We have great stories to tell, and I'm just glad we got to talk to you for a few minutes and tell our
Yeah.
story to
What?
your audience.
So when you go back to that kit, how much is that? What's the base price for typically getting a kit like that? I guess.
Yeah, the biohealth pod system kit for one system, and that can treat to up to a half acre, is $5,000.
Okay.
Then to recharge the kit in future seasons, it's $650 for a 6 month season, which is for your northern campgrounds.
Yeah.
That's plenty. But when you add multiple units, like if you had a 2 acre pond, you might need 5 systems, and the price goes down as you get into volume. You might need 4 systems. That would be one, two, three, four. It would be 15,000 for a 4 unit system. So you can see the price drops pretty dramatically after your second unit, third unit, fourth unit, and we
Okay.
do all size ponds and lakes. It's all over the map.
So I know you guys are based in Michigan because you guys are a little bit more north of where I live. And then
Yeah.
I guess what's the best way for people to get in contact with you?
Well, our website is Rigero, RIGERO.com. Um, and you can call us anytime. We really take pride in returning calls quickly, not only for new customers, but obviously to help our existing customers. We're here to help, and we do all the time. So go to Rigero.com or go to our toll free number, 855-755-0455. I hope I have that
Zero
right.
four four five. It's 855-755-0445.
Correct. Yeah, you
I got
corrected me.
I got your own phone number, Rich. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I know. Well, I'm getting older. What can I say?
Well, it's been great talking with you, Rich, and I'm sure I will see you at some conferences. And obviously, if people are out and about at other conferences, they can definitely check out what you have to offer in person, I guess. So,
Yep, we'll be at the glamping show. We're going to be at Ojai this year and KOA and some other shows. And we really look forward to seeing everyone again.
yeah, you got to go back to the glamping show. Maybe they'll send somebody to Spain or something this year. Japan. Maybe you'll hit Asia.
Yeah,
So,
we got a shout out to Spain. We want to see Spain.
we want to
Sounds
see
fun.
Spain.
We're ready.
Okay. Well, thank you, Rich, and thanks everyone for watching. And we'll be back again next time.